Will I get my Aptera? That is the question. So, for those of you who may have known me for a while, I believe it was at the end of 2022, I pre-ordered an electric vehicle known as an Aptera. And looks like this. It's a super aerodynamic, efficient electric vehicle that can get about, I believe, 10 miles per kilowatt hour. Compare this to like a Tesla Model 3, which I believe is probably the most efficient electric vehicle in mass production right now at about 3.5. It can get 400 miles on a charge, on a battery charge, and the emphasis on this is to be very efficient, both making it lightweight and very aerodynamic. So it can, as I say, it can use electricity very efficiently. Now, one of the features, because of the high efficiency of this vehicle, is that they can put solar panels on it, which is what they're going to do, and it will get about 40 miles of charge per day. So that's actually a useful range, just leaving it out in the sun. Whereas most EVs, because of the way they're designed, if they covered them with solar panels, they might get like 6. So I guess I was enticed by this, so I put in my reservation, and my reservation was, I think, around 37,000, because they now, I think, have like over 40,000 pre-order reservations, so they were doing well. But they were trying to get funding to get the production, and say at about beginning of 2023, I was under the impression, or led to believe, that they needed about $50 million. So what they did was this thing called an accelerator program, where if you invested $10,000 or more, you would get in line for the first 2,000 vehicles. And I did this. I invested $10,500. That was equivalent to 1,000 shares of some kind of stock in the company. That's why it's 10,500. And when this particular phase of the crowdfunding stopped, my reservation number comes out to be 1,669. So if they get into production, I can get the 1,669th vehicle off the assembly line. So yeah, so anyway, this crowdfunding went on for about a year. That's how long it took them to fill the 2,000 slots. And they raised about I think $37 million through this. So it wasn't quite the $50 million, but they got close. And I think they had some other crowd fundraising of lesser amounts. So I think they may even got over 40 million. Anyway, they got a good chunk of change from this. Unfortunately, though, the bad news was that even when this all closed down, they still said they needed more money. And so I posted a video on this about a year ago, and I anyway, yeah, I posted a video a year ago, and I had estimated, based on stuff they were saying, and based on how much profit they're going to make, and they said they needed 6,000 vehicles to get to cash flow positive, you'd be making profit, and some other information. I guess they probably needed about $43 million to get to production. And of course, people on the forums at that time were saying, that this inspired billionaire was going to come out of nowhere and give them the money they needed. I posted a video about this last year, saying that I just didn't think that was going to happen. And I gave my reasons why. First of all, just looking at general investment practices, they really need someone that's probably $5 billion or more that would probably dump that kind of money in. I thought it was $43 million. Later, we would find out that it really needed $60 million. So I wasn't horribly off, but still a significant amount of money. And I had opined in that video that they probably need to go to some form of debt financing or equity financing. In other words, they're going to have to finance the rest. And this is what they actually did. They went to, I guess, fundraising capital company called U.S. Capital that supposedly specializes in raising money for startups. And at about this time, I remember that I was also beginning to wonder if I was going to get my car, to be honest with you, because I don't know, $60 million seems like a lot of money to me with no clear source. So that was what I pivoted. I've been trying to save up money to buy this car because it was supposedly going to be like $35,000 at the time. And I made a decision, okay, I'm just going to go all in and get my apartment building paid off. And so I remember writing early last year two $20,000 checks to my bank, basically draining that savings and even a bit more. I went a bit negative cash flow, and I guess I at that point made the bet, okay, I'm probably going to get my apartment building paid off before I get this car, or maybe get the car at all. So anyway, so they went with this U.S. Capital financing, and remember one of the CEOs said that, yeah, well, we should get this money raised in a few weeks, because people were asking about this, because they were saying that once they get the 60 million, then it's going to be like another 9 months before they can go into full manufacturing. So it turned out it was an abysmal failure. I think there was 6 months with this firm, and I don't think they raised even $1 million. And yeah, that's pretty depressing. So basically, this just did not work out for them. So now I guess the more bad news is that the SEC filing they put in at the end of last year showed that they had like $12 million of cash on hand, of which $4 million they can't spend because that's in an escrow account. These are basically coming from the $100 or $70 people that were putting in reservation slots, because that's what it costs, but apparently that money's fully refundable, so they can't spend it. And so they really only had $9 million to spend, and their burn rate was $3 million a month. So as it stands right now, at the end of this month, they'll be out of money. So I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, as I explained before, this idea that this inspired billionaire, multi-billionaire was just going to come in and drop money, I did not believe that would happen. And one thing I pointed out in that video is that even if something like that happened, they're going to want control or basically ownership of the company. In other words, you're basically selling the company at that point. At least that was my opinion. They're not going to just drop that kind of money and just say, it's all yours to do what you please with it, no questions asked, no influence at all. Not going to happen. So, yeah, I'm not super optimistic. I mean, this information is coming from the Steve's Aptera's Owners Club, who mentioned these SEC filings and this likelihood they still are going to run out of money at the end of this month. So I don't know what they could do. I mean, the one thing I guess I think about that maybe they could do is that their body for this car is actually made out of 6 carbon fiber parts, and these things are stamped out on these huge dies and presses. And they bought the dies and presses, so they have all that ready to go, and it's being done by a company in Italy called the CPC Group. And they've punched out a few parts already for what they're called these production intent vehicles that that they're making right now. They've made some now, and they're doing validation testing. So recently, the CPC Group got acquired by Mitsubishi. And I'm just wondering, maybe they should go to Mitsubishi and see if they might be willing to put $60 million to get this going. Now, obviously, they're going to have to probably give Mitsubishi everything, the rights, control, ownership, the whole lot. That's probably going to have to be part of the deal. I know the CEOs won't like this, but it's either that or nothing. The incentive for CPC, which is now an asset they've acquired, is that CPC specializes in building bodies for like supercars. I mean, I guess like exotic cars like McLarens and whatever in very small production. But the Aptera was an opportunity that they had where they could do something in mass production because these molds and dies are designed to stamp out like 100,000 parts. And Aptera wants to at least start out producing 20,000 cars a year. So while I don't know how much money CPC has invested in their end, because I do believe Aptera bought all the dies and the materials and machining. I don't think CPC's out that money, but there is certainly the opportunity cost. If Aptera doesn't happen, then they have these beautiful dies designed to punch out 100,000 parts, and they're only going to get like maybe 6. So one thing I have to say I've learned about startups, going through this journey myself, is that the technology is one thing, but the most important thing is the fundraising. Because you need to raise a lot of funds, and it makes me think of a guy named Henrik Fisker. I mean, this guy was able to raise billions of dollars to produce his car. And basically, his car was nothing more than an SUV electric vehicle that was already being manufactured by 20 other automakers. So you need a guy like that. I tell you, I think that guy could sell air to a fish and salt to a snail. So anyway, yeah, I have a feeling I probably just lost $10,000 here. But yeah, I guess it's going to have to be okay. Yeah, so anyway, if you like it and enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up or even a dislike if that's how you feel about it. And subscribe to my channel. It helps me with my low self-esteem. And until next time, happy driving. Bye-bye.